the absolute honor, privilege, and pleasure of moderating this amazing partnerships panel we have here. Growing Together, How Agencies and SaaS Partner Up. So we've got an awesome group of folks here to walk us through that. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves because they know themselves best, and you're going to get to know them very well as well. But we're going to start with whoever would like to go first. Your role, your name, obviously. Maybe we should start with names. They're up there, but it'd be nice to coordinate who is who. Your role and how you define a great partnership.
I can jump in there. I'm Rachel Tyers. I'm the SVP of Marketing and Partnerships at Okendo. Okendo specializes in reviews, loyalty, quizzes, referrals, and surveys for brands on Shopify. We work with about 17,000, maybe it's 18,000 now, companies like Skims, Soylent, Opoly. I like to say if you've ever bought anything online, you've probably interacted with Okendo. And then the last thing was,
how do you define a great partnership?
I would say the creation of mutual value. Best case, it's win-win-win, where the agency, the client, and the tech platform are all able to drive revenue and create great outcomes.
Oh, love it.
Thank you. My name is Valeria. I'm the manager of Atlantic Partnerships at Rebuy. So I look after our agency partners in the UK and Europe alongside our East Coast agencies. For those that haven't heard about Rebuy, Rebuy is a personalization platform on Shopify. We work on creating these engaging, dynamic, personalized shopping experiences for each different shopper that enters a brand on Shopify. And to answer Caitlin's question, I think a great partnership is one that has clear communication, those shared mutual values as well, and mission goals too, and the shared objectives between the two partners.
Karolina, Director of Partnerships at Domaine. If you're not familiar with Domaine, one of the world's largest Shopify-only design development agencies, focusing on mid-market, enterprise, lifecycle marketing, and very recently launched a B2B practice as well. What makes a good partnership? I mean, I think you two both covered it. I think the only other thing I'd add is honesty and transparency is huge. I don't think you can build a strong partnership without either.
Amazing. I realize I also didn't introduce myself. Hi, my name's Caitlin Teed. I have a long history in partnerships spanning Shopify and Ryder, and now I'm actually more on the product side as well, dabbling in that, but I feel like there's good product practices in kind of the partnerships world as well. So we're gonna get started with a couple questions, pepper them in there, have a little fireside chat here, less straight up panel, back and forth. Starting with some of that like strategic alignment, how do you identify what partnerships are worth pursuing?
So I'll always look at ICP, so the ideal client or customer profile. I want to make sure that we're working with brands that are around a similar GMV value, maybe like 1 mil to 50 million plus. A sweet spot would be more like 10 mil plus. I'm really enjoying right now. If there's a lot of existing merchant overlap, that's also a great sign that it's going to be a solid partnership. And then just looking that you're working with like complementary other partners within the tech stack too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you mentioned there. I think also like once we can celebrate the successes as well of a mutual partner, or sorry, of a mutual client with a partner, and make sure that they have the absolute best experience as well, and just making sure that everything that's important to the partner as well too is the constant goal of the tech partner on our side. I think also like if for a tech partner like us, agencies are the partners that we work with. If the agency has the resources and time to also dedicate to learning more about the platform, learning how to take it above and beyond rather than just like the out-of-the-box features, like I think having that also be a thing that is important to them, makes it a really great partnership that you can take to the next level and not just out of the box there.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the agency perspective, like, yeah, finding your ICP, like mutual clients is, I think, like, you have to start there, quite frankly. I think really starting with the why. I mean, I've been told there's a lot of technology companies in the room, so hopefully this resonates. But like with that, there's so much great tech out there. But so for us as an agency, why would we want to partner with you? If the tech is great, that's a great starting point. But I think what is the other sort of value add? Do we have shared clients? Do we have I think it's a really good starting point. So I think I got a lot of cold outreach, but I think there's a lot of us like, hey, we're the best at this. And from my perspective, like, that's great, but why do we want to work together?
I love that. I think in that same vein, when you're prospecting with partners or someone's in your inbox, is there anything that you see as a huge red flag that someone should really be aware to not like lean too heavily on when they're trying to partner with you or work closer with you? Rachel, I see like you're ready to go. You're like, I know the answer to this one.
No, I mean, yes, though. Okay, so I'm always thinking about reputation, and this was huge for me when I was VP of partnerships at Mute6. So we would be working with maybe multiple providers, say in the review space, for example, and I started getting really bad feedback about one of those partners. So we stopped sending reviews recommendations over to that tech partner because it was a bad reflection on us. And as an agency, at the end of the day, you want to protect that relationship that you have with your client and you want to recommend the best solution for them. So I would say beware of partners that maybe don't have the most solid reputation in market because you want to protect that relationship that you have with the client.
Yeah, I think also for agencies in particular, I know how important that trust is that agencies have with their clients as well too. And of course, like for us at Rebuy, I know that we always want to make the agency shine as much as we can. Like we're there because we want to help make the agency an absolute expert. We want to make sure that what we do, we celebrate together. So I think like, yeah, when there's ways that we can lean in with the agency, we can share resources. We can be very transparent as well too about any constraints on timeline, resources, anything, so that we can just be so crystal clear, and ultimately the agency's goals shine and are met in every way. I saw this on LinkedIn a few days ago, but someone was sharing how a tech partner went up to them and was like, introduce us to your best clients right now, you know what I mean? And it's like, instead, like leading with the what's in it for me rather than like how can we win together, I think it can be a red flag for sure.
Yes, 100%. I think love to hear everything you guys just said as well too. I think echoing what you said earlier, Rachel, as well too. The win-win-win I think is wildly important. Yeah, I literally had brands reach out being like, "Hey, I see you work with X client. We want to work with them. Can you interest?" And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Karolina to start with." Like, but I think also like on that note as well too, like I think people can get very nervous or defensive around their client relationships too, both on agency and tech side. And I have seen and heard horror stories of tech companies throwing their agencies under the bus if a project is starting to go awry. My God, whatever you do, please don't ever do that if you're working with agencies. I think first and foremost, like lean on the word partnership, like work together. I think work to, again, find a win so the client is happy ultimately, but obviously your teams are both successful as well.
I'm hearing a lot of themes of transparency and clear communication and also reputation. I think that's a really strong and important theme across the board here, and making sure you're not coming on too strong. Like it's great to be excited about a new partnership, but not to like lean too heavily. It should be value first. You're providing that person to lean into. So kind of in that world, like how have your partners' strategies evolved over time? Do you have a model you've seen continuously work, or how has it evolved with your ICP? Curious to dive into that.
Yeah, that's a great question and super topical for us at Okendo right now. We have been building out really comprehensive partner training modules around each of our products. Given we have 5 now, there's a lot to learn. And we're hoping to enable agencies to create new revenue streams for their business. We know the macroeconomic environment is more difficult today than it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago in the COVID bubble. And a lot of agencies are looking for ways that they can add more revenue. So if you're able to deliver a top tier loyalty program from strategy, design, implementation, ongoing management and promotion, that's a really meaningful amount of money that you can possibly add to your revenue. And we want to help you provide best-in-class solutions, and that's something that's creating the win-win-win, where the brand gets an amazing loyalty program, Okendo has a great customer implementation, and you're making more money.
I think adding on to what you mentioned about like the macroeconomic factors and just like the climate of the world and how much harder it is to do business now in the e-commerce side of things, I think brands are also like expecting a lot more from both their agencies and also like tech partners that they work with. So it's like, how can you make sure that you can provide that constant training and enablement to those partners, similar to what the program that you guys have created through the training. We've done something like that as well too. The Rebuy platform is constantly evolving. We're launching new products, and we really need to make sure our partners feel comfortable and can ultimately service every single part of those features and take the implementation to the next level. And I think we are a lot more intentional as well too in the way that we do partnerships, not necessarily now like partnering for the sake of partnering. I think time is very limited for everyone, and I think when we were first building out the partner program, we're like, let's try and meet like all the agencies we can. Let's see how we can work with everyone. But it'll be the most valuable if there's that intention on both sides, and having that clear value and goal that way too.
Yeah, I think the word intention really resonates. I think from our perspective as well too, when we were first building out our partner program at Domaine, we had gone through a merger of 2 large agencies prior to. So it was a lot of, all right, get organized. I think we first started, we were very excited as well too, of like, we have a larger book of business. We're like, who are all of our clients working with? Also then like, reaching out to different sort of connections in the team now of like who do people like working with on a delivery and engineering team. But yeah, got very overwhelmed very quickly in terms of, again, there's a whole host of really great technologies out there. So I think this past year we've been really focusing in on who is actually really driving real results and revenue for both our clients and like in our team, like who are we actually finding success with, and putting some very clear metrics against it as well too. And from there, really like aligning with those partners to go deeper. So really going deeper, not wider, I think has been a big theme this year. Even with launching new streams in like lifecycle marketing and B2B, I think again, we're still trying to be very intentional of, it'd be very easy to open the floodgates and like, all right, there's a whole new host of partners we get to partner with. But again, let's kind of like crawl, walk, run, I think is kind of what we're looking at. And with the getting deeper as well too, I think just for a couple of like quick examples, I think we've been aligning very closely on like sales and go to market as well too. With some of our closer partners, we have multiple AEs attached to those accounts as well too, and like doing a lot of co-prospecting and outbounding. Our marketing teams are like very well aligned. I think some of our closest partner relationships we've really gone deeper with, I'm finding myself as a little like less involved because we're so cross-functionally involved, which is fantastic.
I love the cross function. I think I've seen the most success when partnerships isn't just enabling your partners, but internal teams as well. And I think that's a huge evolution when not that you make your job irrelevant anymore, but the teams around you, the customer success, sales, they're thinking partner first. And that's huge when you get to that level. So maybe kind of in that vein and some other things, like what makes a partnership successful beyond just like co-marketing or integrations? Like what are maybe diving into some of those metrics you look at, or what are some things that kind of spark success?
So what creates a successful partnership? At the end of the day, I think that as a tech platform, you have to be providing the best product that makes the agency look good. And shout out to my engineers and product team at the back here who have created the best product in Okendo. And that makes my life so much easier from the partnerships or marketing perspective, because we do have this outstanding reputation and a lot of proof in market of how good that product is. So that's what really enables our partners to shine, I would say. And then when it comes to metrics, which I think you added on there, it's a closed MRR that we're looking at. That's how we base our like partner tiers on, and then looking at co-marketing and things like that too.
I think you both touched on this as well too, but I think just being able to provide the best experience for the agency, again, like making sure that they're the ones shining at the root of it all, and providing the best support, being that extension of the agency's team in every way, whether it's on the success side, on the strategy side, or on the support side, product, sales too. I love the cross-functional collaboration, because truly like that's how we're going to win new business together, how we're going to take those use cases to the next level too, just like really being intertwined as teams that way, and both having that intention, I guess, from both sides, and just being able to help the agency succeed this way.
No, I think you guys both totally nailed as well too. I mean, I think from an agency perspective, we sit under the revenue team. Partnerships ultimately is typically part of the revenue org. I think some of the metrics that we do look closely at, I know this varies very much wildly to agency. We do look at rev share that we are collecting from partners. And then ultimately, though, biggest goal is closed won referrals from partners to the agency as well too. So again, if there's ultimately like no really good business use case, it is hard to go deep as a partnership as well too, regardless of like how good the product is as well too. But then yeah, I think ultimately also like cross-functionally, the co-marketing and like the collaboration across teams is very important. Less of a thing you're able to track against, but just as meaningful.
Yeah. I mean, on that co-marketing front, I think maybe this question could evolve into what activations or tools have you seen really successful to help you get to those goals? You know, I know we talk about integration sometimes with partners, like that being like a base level. We won't start moving forward with that. Is it events? Like what are there any things that come to mind that have really helped you meet and exceed goals and expectations in a partnership?
Yeah, we really like doing events. Recently, we've been doing more high ticket events. So I'll do like the Kendrick Lamar VIP suite experience or Beyonce.
How do I get invited to that?
How do I get invited to that? Yeah, so usually we'll try going on that with an agency or other tech partners and attract great brands there. It's really hard to get brands, especially great brands, attention these days because everyone's getting invited to dinners left, right, and center. And, you know, time is precious. So being able to put on those high ticket events with partners is something that we really like doing. I still really love a webinar, like a co-marketing webinar. People are still coming to those in 2025. But otherwise, yeah, case studies and joint marketing like that, I think still has its place.
Yeah, I think events have worked really well for us too. I think being able to do these in-person events go a really long way for brands to be able to meet and build special relationships with the agency and also like our success sales teams as well too there. I think, yeah, webinars have been amazing to be able to also help the agency be a thought leader in a particular topic too. There's many new hot topics coming out around in the e-commerce space, I feel. And so to be able to create a platform or a place where the agency can then shine, maybe run a workshop that brands want to learn about, how can they become experts in X, Y, and Z with the agency being an expert in this topic, I think have worked really well. And also these case studies too, or like guides, migration guides and whatnot, like just showcasing the partner's expertise this way that we can then help also provide to these brands when they're looking for an expert in a particular service.
Yeah, I think I really like the storytelling piece, quite frankly, because I think it's so easy as an agency to be like, oh, like you should meet Okendo, meet Rebuy, but then it's kind of like why. So I think having really good use cases examples of like, hey, we collaborated together on this client or this project and we found X results, I think adds a lot more weight into like that recommendation as well too. Yeah, so I think, and then also like with the events in person, being intentional as well too, of like, there's a million dinners. So our marketing team is fabulous at getting very creative and very exciting. So I do think we're seeing a trend that way as well too.
I love the storyline throughput there. And I think there's like that level of exclusivity or like feeling really special and feeling seen by both parties for a brand or a merchant would be huge in that case. Speaking of like maybe rewards and or incentives, I want to talk about spiffs a little bit. And I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on that. And if that's a tactic you leverage, how your team feels about it. Is it something you offer other partners? Discuss.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love spiffs, especially for the tech partners where we don't pay out rev share to tech partners. And so to be able to motivate their AEs or CSMs to talk about us with a little bonus gift voucher or whatever it may be, it's super valuable. And I like to be able to recognize that individual for sharing value to us. Spiffs on the agency side, I still think have their place because it's a similar story, isn't it? You know, obviously, well, a lot of the time the founders or the business takes that revenue share and the AE or CSM or project manager, whoever, doesn't really see anything at the end of the day. So I'm down to explore that if any agencies that want to work with Okendo here. And we also offer MDF, so marketing development funds, which we can put that towards spiffs. If anyone's interested in taking me up on that, hit me up after the panel.
I think on the tech partner side, I mean, I can only really speak on the tech partner side, not so much agency, but I know our success team does an incredible job at being able to implement Rebuy for the brands, do a bunch of different cool use cases, and to be able to help incentivize them to drive adoption to a specific integration that will make the experience of the brand even better. I think spiffs work really well, especially for some folks that might not be commission-based, for example. And so it's a really great thing to help keep them top of mind for a specific integration partner and ultimately ensure that their brand is happier, their experience is better, their tech stack is even more integrated too. And so, yeah, I think we're fans.
I'm always a little torn on Spiffs.
You and I both, girl.
I think there's a fine line. I do think they have a time and place. I do think for like you were saying, for especially like a lot of folks in like delivery engineering who like, yeah, they're not collecting commission typically in these kind of opportunities. I think it can be nice to kind of reward some of those like internal champions you have at the agency who do like and recommend your technology. But I do think like it's a nice reminder, I think, sometimes of like, hey, like we're working with this technology, like just keep it top of mind. There's a little extra incentive. But I have seen a line sometimes where it's been like, hey, we'll give you like $10,000 to intro us to X brand. And I'm like, we can't just like,
10,000 though?
like I saw one that was like that.
Like, okay.
There was so many thoughts about it. But at some point it does start to feel almost like bribery where we're like, hey, like we know this client just signed like a hefty multi-year contract with like your competitive technology. Like we can't just like kind of force them to meet you. It also just then starts to feel a bit icky as the agency as well too. So that I think there's a balance of like there's definitely a time and place, but it also is not going to always like move the needle forward as well too. Because like sometimes like if there's just not a lot of opportunity, it's not going to create out of thin air, but it can be a really good, helpful reminder and also reward those champions.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I do think it's important to tie it closely to that educational piece and that enablement piece so folks know when and how and like being top of mind and being rewarded for good incentives and behaviors. So totally understand that. But yeah, when I moved to the very, very corporate world of Ryder, they were very anti-spiff because they saw it as bribery. They right away, they're like, you can't send any of this out. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm like, how do I incentivize people? I just have to sell. Speaking of that, so let's talk a little bit about partnership launches. And I'd love if any of you have a story to share of a recent partnership launch that really stood out for you. Maybe it like hit all those KPIs you'd planned, like it really kicked off a great relationship, or walk me through something like that.
Yeah, I had an interesting occurrence a few months back with Fuego, the mobile app platform. And they're pretty small. It's like a, I don't know, 5 or 6 person team. But they've started winning some big logos. I hadn't heard of them at the time, but I was on a sales call with a very large brand. I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about it, sadly. But they came to me and they said, so you integrate with Fuego. And I was like, who the hell's Fuego? But I've got my other monitor up here and I'm Googling Fuego and looking into it and seeing some mutual logos there. And I was thinking, okay, I really need to look into this new platform because this large brand is talking about it. And apparently they already integrate with me. So I reached out to the founder's CEO and we jumped on a call and he was great. And apparently they just used our developer docs and had built these really beautiful native integrations that work well. And that's something that I don't see that often. Usually it's a bit of a grind to get things going. Or if there's a newer tech platform that wants to integrate with us, I'll be like, I simply don't have the resources to build an integration for your 3 clients. Like, do what you can. And that's kind of all I can offer you at this point in time. Or I'll talk to Simon, my director of product. But yeah, Fuego had already done it all. They had great logos, a lot of our mutual customers, and they were sending brands to me to get my attention, sort of thing. So yeah, that was fantastic.
I think we had a similar experience with another mobile app platform too, and saw a ton of success. I know, well, it just seemed like a match made in heaven from the start. It's with the Tapcart team, and I know that brands were like asking about it too from the start if it was something that we could potentially do. I know that our team leaned in on the integration side, built it initially, saw tons of great success stories. Brands are now asking for it. Their team is also now leaning in a ton to go even deeper, celebrating success stories with a ton of great brands that we have together. And we also integrate very well with other leading tech partners in the space too. So it's just a very unified commerce approach too. And yeah, just one that we continue to wrap across.
It's funny. I had a very similar instance to what Rachel's talking about of like, I've actually recently 2 client referrals, one for a marketing agency and one for another technology platform. And both very quickly, I think the client came in very positively as well too. Like, we've loved working with this team. Like, you must meet them. Like, you got to recommend them to your other brands. And it's kind of gotten the ball rolling very quickly with like the market agency. We kind of like quickly kind of open up our books and we're like, oh, there's a lot of opportunity here. We've got a lot of like overlap already that like both of us were just unaware of because we kind of sit parallel but don't integrate normally very often. So that's kind of gotten the ball rolling very quickly. And then this other technology company, they're called Tangent.ai. We just met them like the other week. And great. Like, it was our client Olaplex who recommended them, and then we very quickly had another beauty brand we just kicked off with who was looking for the exact same technology, and we're like, great, off to the races. And so that's kind of moved things very quickly. And I think again, just having that validation from a client of being like, hey, we love this technology, this other agency is like it carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's the one throughput I see through every response is like listening to your customers and like, hey, what? That's one of my favorite questions to ask when I'm talking to a merchant. Like, what technology are you using right now that you can't live without, or that you're so excited by and is solving such massive problems for you? Speaking of problems, I would love to get into maybe some challenges and lesson questions. We're in the hot seat now, so maybe walking through everyone here through like a mistake or a lesson learned that you had with a partnership in particular or approach to a partner program that you'd be willing to share with the class?
Yeah, I think Val touched on it a little, but having so many partners and spreading your partnerships team too thin. I look at Adina. Adina's calendar is pretty outrageous, actually. But we have, between like 600 and 800 active partners at Okendo. And that's a lot of people and agencies, a lot of people to keep happy. So we have segmented out our partner base for high, medium, and low touch now so that we're able to match partners with the level of support that they require. And that's also somewhat based on the level of value that they bring back to Okendo too. So we don't want to be doing quarterly business reviews with a consultant that sends a deal once or twice a year. We want to be able to manage those low touch partners at scale, keep them up to date with, the latest product updates that are coming out, but maybe that's through a Loom video that we can send out at mass versus a one-to-one monthly check-in call. So that's my lesson. Don't spread the partner managers too thin.
Yeah, no, I think I 100% agree. I think it's very easy to just try to give everyone and please everyone at all times. The same, and some partners just require more support more of the time, especially those like high performing agency partners as well too, that you can go deeper, more strategic with. So yeah, definitely like tiering, also like organizing the team accordingly too, to like who manages who, how deep you go with each partner. But I think going back to your question, Kate, about a specific experience that might not have gone well from the start and what we learned, I think also like when working on a specific client with an agency, I think I've made the mistake when I first started partnerships too of like aligning on goals but not priorities. And I think like really defining like the resources, the constraints of like both the success strategy teams, activation team, sales, and just like not having those clear guidelines also in mind, and like by what specific date or aspect of the project we needed to have X, Y, and Z, feature live by. So I think, yeah, just like beginning with those questions at the very start of a new project, especially those like more complex projects who are super, super important to make sure that like we can also provide the resources that we need internally, the teams, whatnot, to, meet all the expectations of your clients.
Yeah, it's funny. I think like similarly, I think for a lot of folks in partnership, I guess we're all kind of like people. Like we like working with people,
We don't like people.
I mean, it depends on the day. But I think with that, it's so easy to get, I think, a little like over excited of like, great, like this tech does seem great, this person seems great, like let's get collaborating. But I think, like you said, if you don't set very clear expectations or like deadlines, it kind of can just very quickly go to the wayside and just becomes a waste of everyone's time ultimately, and it's just not productive. So I think being, again, very like intentional, I guess is my word of the day today, about like who you're focusing on partnering with and like why, and setting those very clear expectations and guidelines, I think is very helpful. I think also just like for us, a lot of people I know you had to step out, but like Mac, one of our co-founders, has a lot of friends in the industry, I've learned. And we first started working together, poor Jerry and I took calls with every single one of his friends and quickly had very little time. So again, I think kind of being aligned of like, hey, would love to meet your friend, but again, what's the why? Let's kind of map that out, right?
I think like ruthless prioritization of your time and your resources is like a key theme from all of that. And just because you're friends with Mac does not mean you get Karolina's time, is what we noted there. So like maybe we can talk a little bit too about like navigating any misalignments or expectations, like when you are maybe down the road with a partnership or even trying to like get alignment there, like how do you find, I don't know if compromise is the right word, but where do you kind of find that good gauge of like, you know, what you're willing to maybe not lose momentum on?
Yeah, I think a known difficulty is that a lot of agencies just look at leads numbers that are referred back into the business. And not a lot of brands are coming to us asking for, like, who can I do a site migration with, or who can I do a full site redesign with? Like, they're more likely to go to one of their other, like, complementary agencies or even Shopify versus coming to Rachel at Okendo. So figuring out how we can provide value beyond leads in a really meaningful way. And a lot of the time at Okendo, that comes down to the not only the product, but also the service and support that we can provide the agency. For us, we want to get back to you from the partnerships team same day and help figure out your problem and provide access to our solutions and engineering teams to make sure that you're able to deliver a really great client experience, and providing value through co-marketing and revenue share, which is the cherry on top.
I think also what we've started to do too is bring our agencies in front of our like go-to-market teams, like in front of our like success sales teams, who are the ones having conversations with these brands or in active deal cycles or helping like implement Rebuy on these brands. And so like for them to also build that relationship with the agency, kind of going back to like cross departmental collaboration, and for the success manager to able to feel comfortable at reaching out to the agency, the specific project manager or whatnot, about a specific ask, a specific feature the client needs, whatnot, and vice versa, to be able to like create this like really, really meaningful and special experience. So yeah, just like being able to like also like not us be the only people that are in between every single deal and every single interaction, but also like other members of the team.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 100%. And that cross-departmental collaboration is huge. I think I really like the getting in front of the go-to-market teams, because I think ultimately, like as an agency, like very aware, like there are very few technology partners. I mean, like Shopify is obviously a really good example, who are typically funneling leads out to agencies. But I think finding ways to like get creative and again showing like the support and like being able to lean into the relationship in other ways, whether it is co-marketing or honestly support for the clients, is huge. Because and then I think with getting in front of go-to-market teams, I mean, as much as I'd like to say Domaine is great at everything, we are a right fit for, you know, specific sort of vertical niche of like projects, and we are happy to communicate that to your team. So again, whether it's like CS or sales, they know, hey, in this X situation, like the Domaine is probably a good fit here, but they're also not looping us into things where maybe we're not the best fit for, which then can create some friction and slow things down for all parties involved as well too. So that two-way enablement, I think, is like huge as well.
We've also started creating like an agency marketplace for our internal teams too, so that it can really, so that like, yeah, whether it's the sales or success teams, they don't just look at our directory of like hundreds and hundreds of different agencies, but like what agencies are actually really good at these specific things above and beyond Rebuy too, so that also helps create these more like meaningful introductions and service offerings outside of Rebuy.
That's amazing. I love that. I know a couple tech companies that have done something similar to that, and it's super, super helpful as someone trying to figure out where the best fit is. Kind of, we talked about leads a lot, and this is kind of generating like how we can get leads for our partners, but maybe talking a little bit about how you validate or even track partners' source or influenced revenue opportunities, because I know this can get a little tricky sometimes, especially with multiple partner managers at a company, how you really track where that MRR should be properly attributed to. Do you track just direct leads? Is there an expiry date? Is there influenced discuss? I'm so curious.
That's a huge question.
I know, I'm
and
sorry,
a
it's
very
beefy.
good one. So we track through our partner portal based on the original referrer, and we will record that original referring partner domain in HubSpot. The leads expire technically after 3 months, but we know that leads often take longer than 3 months to close, especially some of the big deals that we work on. So we can like address that case by case if the lead is taking longer to close. I don't have a good solution for influence right now, so I'm interested to hear what other people have to say. But that is still something that we recognize as a significant value add because it's super meaningful when the agency recommends us or provides that additional level of social proof or credibility for us, and we often ask for it, or from tech partners for that matter too. I can't even remember if I've actually covered off your whole question.
Covered
but
most of it. And
yeah.
well, I mean, you mentioned the tools and that.
Oh, and I guess the last thing I'd add is that we don't need to fight between attribution at Okendo between channels. We all work really cohesively together, and there's an alignment of incentive on closed MRR between partner managers and the AEs. So that really alleviates the tension that could otherwise be there. And then the marketing and the partnerships units are both under me, so I don't need to fight with another head. So everything's great.
We are in a very similar boat and take a very similar approach. We have a partner portal as well, which one of our co-founders built over a weekend. He just, the wizard. The wizard created the portal. So leads can be submitted through there. Same thing, the leads expire after 90 days or so. If there's an agency that introduces the client directly to us, and that agency will technically get the attribution. However, there might be multiple agencies also working on a specific deal, whether it's the creative agency or the marketing agency or development agency as well. So definitely on a case-by-case basis this way too. I think we are also very lucky to have a leadership team that really values partnerships as well too. So thankfully, like, we don't have to compete against our sales team when it comes to whether this lead came from outbound or through a partner. I think we definitely see a greater attainment, greater MRR as well when partners are attached to a specific deal as well too, and then we can go above and beyond rebuy implementation, create amazing use cases when there is a partner involved. So I think like we're still at a point that's quite case by case.
Do you have a solution for influenced revenue from partners?
I don't think we do so just yet, but I know Rich, Bianca, Nan, and I are having these conversations, and it's definitely something that we will definitely get to, like, in the next few months, definitely. But
in the next few months.
Stay tuned.
Something that we're definitely trying to solve. Yeah.
Oh my God, as an agency, I love hearing all this with regards to like what both your companies have built, because I have definitely found ourselves in like sticky situations of like really fighting to prove attribution as an agency, but like also competing with the company's like sales or marketing team, and like that creates very awkward just like divisions even between like us and agents. Like, we want to work with your sales team. We don't want to be competitive with your sales team. The more alignment we have, the better. So that's really nice to hear. But I think for us as well too, in like regards to like how we are tracking anything from our partners to us, honestly, I think having everything in writing is huge, because I've had a lot of people have reached out, be like, oh, we were talking to so-and-so and we set on a call, you got to meet Domaine. I'm like, I have no proof if you actually did. Like, I love to hear that. Thanks for thinking of us. But like, it's, if someone else then actually makes the intro or they come in inbound and they don't mention the partner, it's very hard to obviously prove that back. So again, even if I get a screenshot of like a gong call, I'm like, great, then we don't have to argue about this anymore, which is awesome.
We had this happen exactly together with Huda, who your team had talked about. This is Huda Beauty, who's migrating to Shopify. They came inbound to me and I was like, wow, how did they hear about us? Like, I need more information because I don't know like their journey to get to this point. And then I got the receipts from Karolina, and they had come from Domaine. So we were able to retroactively attribute that to Domaine.
Perfect example.
Perfect example.
Keep your receipts, friends. Forward those emails, those screenshots. Just saying, oh, I had a call with so-and-so does not influence make.
Yeah, and it's a tricky balance as well, because I also get agencies that are like, oh, Okendo was a logo in my pitch deck and I'm going to submit it right now, and that's a lead from me because I like kind of almost mentioned them. And like that doesn't really help me. Like that does not really a referral make. So it's a kind of a happy medium that needs to be found
I
there.
agree. You're like, that's great to hear, but
Yeah.
Do you ever find attribution conflicts internally as well? I don't know, and we kind of touched on that a little bit, but where you're saying, oh, the agency referred this note as tech, like, and again, I know you have your 3-month kind of period, but does it ever get really contentious with those larger deals where multiple folks could be involved?
Something that we're navigating right now is expansion opportunities where the partner will refer in an additional product, but also the customer success person has done a value review call with the client and they've also sourced this opportunity. So that's the most difficult thing right now that I'm trying to figure out because I want to make sure that the customer success person on the Okendo side is rewarded. But I also obviously want to uphold this relationship with the agency. So I think I'm doing a little bit of double dipping on attribution on that one, but I've not had any complaints from my CEO just yet.
I don't think we've like faced any issues when there's a tech partner who's referred a specific brand that also an agency have. I think that is then even there's even more teams working on a specific brand to create an even better experience. And yeah, thankfully, like we have an amazing leadership team that really values partnerships both on the tech side and agency side. And so like currently no need to yet, I guess, fight on that attribution.
yeah, I think likewise. Like I feel very lucky at Domaine that our leadership team is very like partnership oriented, like gets it. And again, so I think we work so close. Like I work so closely with like our sales and marketing heads as well too. Where again, like we've kind of mapped out all of the typical use cases where like double attribution makes sense, where it doesn't. And so I think we honestly haven't had a ton of issue, which is nice as well too. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. One question I personally am very curious how you have approached this, or maybe you haven't had this, but I'm a part of a company that was part of an acquisition, and it completely changed our ICP within the matter of like a few months. And we'd spent time enabling partners. Is this something that's come across your plate before, or when maybe you punch towards the enterprise as a software or as an agency? How do you re-enable your partners and kind of, or even with new product launches, re-educate? What kind of tools or resources have you found super helpful in those situations?
Yeah, organically, we have been finding that we're dealing with a lot more enterprise business. And so, in terms of ICP, that has been evolving a little bit. And I think zeroing in on those agencies that are working with a similar, larger ICP has been really beneficial for us. And we've launched 4 products in my 5 years with Okendo as well. So that's been a lot of work, a lot of enablement, and it really doesn't end. To this day, I will still talk to agencies where they'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot you were doing quizzes. So it's like staying top of mind, making sure that you're communicating your product updates to your agency and tech partner base, and I guess continuing to I speak through the voice of the client. Like I really like customer stories because it's not just me telling you how good my loyalty product is. It's also my clients telling you.
I think also like once we did a little bit of a shift with ICPs to like taking a step back, looking at like all of the agencies that we're working with, tiering them similar to like what you mentioned as well, like organizing the team accordingly to recognizing how much time a certain partner manager needs to devote to a specific agency, and also like with a platform that's been launching so much, enhancing a whole bunch of different products, like making sure that the enablement and educational piece like follows along too. I know Rich has done an amazing job at hosting his roundtables like every month, like having different members of the team, whether it's on the product side, whether it's your solutions engineer onto for the agencies to come and join and get comfortable with the new products, and just like making sure that our the enablement that we send out, our training academy as well too, it's all up to date, it gets enhanced, weekly, bi-weekly too, as new things are changed, to like make sure that agencies are always kept in the know.
Yeah, this is one I've had the opportunity to navigate a few times, and I'm still kind of figuring out. When I would have first started, we were called Tomorrow, and we were a startup at that time, and we have very quickly now went through a merger, acquired by private equity. We now have multiple service streams. Where before we were just like, we're just enterprise, just design and dev, to now all the other sort of service streams. And we also have our studio offering, which is like mid-market. So it's like we're really touching a lot of different places, and that does come with a lot of enablement. And I do find, I think what I've really enjoyed is that customer storytelling, where especially for our newer service streams, where for most of my partners, we're still, unless maybe you're Klaviyo, we're still not top of mind in like the lifecycle marketing. But I think coming up with some really strong stories of like, we recently did a big campaign with like Daily Harvest on their email marketing. And like, that's a logo people recognize. We have some really cool metrics we get to pull from. So it's a story we've been able to tell. And people are like, oh, shoot, we know you do this and you do this well, and we're like, great, this is a whole area we get to explore. So yeah, that enablement, finding creative ways top of mind, but I think that customer storytelling is the most impactful.
Yeah, storytelling's a big theme I've noticed across the board here. Speaking of storytelling, we're almost at the end of our story here. We've only got like about 5 minutes left. I was going to leave questions till the end from the audience, but I did have one or two more questions potentially to ask y'all to finish us up. But I thought, does anyone have a question that maybe we haven't touched on that they'd like to pepper in there for our amazing panelists? Sir.
Thank you, everyone, for your input. Very interesting. Question for Karolina. Obviously, you work with very big or well-established SaaS companies. What advice would you give to those who are just starting out and maybe are not as big to approach an agency, either as big as yours or smaller? Because I think it's a different way to handle it when it's a smaller app or just starting out. If they do offer great value, what would be the best way to approach an agency like yours?
Totally. No, it's a great question. I think really, again, going back to the like, why do you think your like your SaaS company would be a good fit for the agencies? So whether it's like similar types of clients, like let's say if you see as an agency that we do a lot of like health and beauty, maybe pulling from those examples and like, hey, we found really good success with maybe like a brand that's competitive to a brand that we publicly talk about, and that can kind of like spark some interest. Again, if there obviously is a shared client or like that's a very easy sort of in as well too. But I think really the like leaning into the value and leaning into like, yeah, where do you see that like your tech would be a good fit for a company? And like aside from the tech piece of like, where do you think there's maybe a gap that like could be really valuable for our team?
Awesome. All right. One more from Rich.
So you've mentioned about the why when it comes to partnerships. I'm curious to know what all of your whys are. Why do you guys do what you do?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
You coming after my job, Rich?
For me, what I love about what I do is the people aspect. Being partnerships, and you mentioned it up front. It's so nice that we're able to work with so many amazing people. And that sounds like kind of cheesy, but it's true. Like some of my greatest friends are people that I've met in this ecosystem. So I feel really grateful for that.
Yeah, I think the people piece is a very important part for me. I think for me is the collaboration piece and just like how much further you can go together rather than just like trying to do everything on our own. And I think agencies have like incredible teams with different, very specific expertise in many different ways that we might not have like in our specific team. So just being able to create those incredible use cases together, leveraging each other's strengths this way.
Yeah, 100%. People collaboration is huge. Like we work in a really cool ecosystem. There's some really amazing people here, like just in this room alone, which makes I think our lives like a lot easier and a lot more fun as well too. I think partnerships is also really interesting where it's a pretty strategic role that sits like naturally quite cross-functionally so for myself, I kind of enjoy also that every day is a little different. I get to put on maybe more of a creative marketing hat, maybe more of a strategic business sales hat one day. And there's a lot of creativity involved, which is quite fun.
I love the creativity, the people, the energy, the vibes. Okay.
Kate, what's your why?
Oh my God, what? No. I have absolutely fallen in love with this community of folks who just are so passionate about what they do. I see the drive and the ambition, and it's what's the word? Contagious. And I think I love the curiosity and the excitement that folks get, and the creativity that I've seen in this space. And I think partnerships, exactly what you said, is like that cross-functional throughput where you get to enjoy a little bit of everything in it. So, yeah, we're not here to settle. We're here to go enjoy some new things. So, with that, I think, Kira, are we about at time there? All right, we are finished at time. But please don't let the conversation up here, even though it's stopping. Please come talk to our panelists. Let us know what you thought. And we can't wait to see y'all. I think it's lunchtime now, right? Okay. Oh, wow, look at that. We're giving you guys, we're respectful of your time, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day.